Welcome to this edition of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast, featuring our discussion of the incredible HBO show Westworld, episode 5, entitled Contrapasso. Did I say that right?
I think so. Contrapasso.
Yeah, and man, can I just say real quick, I hope nobody out there was watching this episode with their parents or their children. I mean, like...
really any other human being.
Yeah.
I hope everyone watched this episode alone.
Yes. So a couple of quick bits of information before we jump into it. You can check out all of our content at www.boobtubebuddies.com, or just follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit. Or just email us at boobtubebuddies@gmail.com to get in on the conversation. And we will make sure all your questions, theories, all that gets on air. My name is Foxman, and I am joined by the Ford to my Arnold, Mr. God Complex himself. What's going on, Mothman?
I was wondering if you'd make that reference, especially after Luke Cage, where you did the striker to your Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah, brother from another mother?
Yeah. Interesting how the shows we're covering have these, dichotomies.
I know. A lot of different strange parallels and things like that, too, that strangely mirror our image, or strangely mirror our the kind of personas here on air. And
in some cases, our image. I look exactly like Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, right? You really do. And I guess I look like Arnold.
It remains to be seen.
A decomposing skull at this point, just a skeleton in the ground.
I have a new podcast tradition, I think.
Oh, snap. What is it, buddy?
I trimmed up my beard and took a shower before the show.
Okay. All right.
I don't really do that in the morning, but I'm like, I'm going to be recording late. Maybe I'll save myself some time in the morning. But you know how like a shower kind of just wakes you up a little bit?
I took a shower before we started, but I played basketball tonight, so.
That's true. And I had a little iced coffee too, so I'm in rare form.
Damn, I noticed you do sound very peppy tonight.
Yep. I might even last a whole episode before my voice starts to crack.
I hope not.
Probably not, though. So I'm just going to share this because maybe you can provide some context or we'll use it as a template, but contrapasso is a Latin term comprised of contra and patior, which means suffer the opposite, and it refers to the punishment of souls in Dante's Inferno.
Damn, that's pretty heavy.
That is pretty heavy. I mean, especially like, I don't know, they have some pretty cool names. I forgot it after looking it up last week, but...
Ford,
a dissonance
Bernard.
Theory was definitely relevant.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Not character names?
No, they're like their episode titles are kind of, foreshadowing in their own right.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. Nice job, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Before we hop into the episode, do you want to just quickly do a rundown of the other shows we got going, and then we'll fire it up?
Absolutely. In alphabetical order. Walking Dead, American Horror Story.
Already fucked it up.
Yeah. Walking Dead, American Horror Story, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Divorce, Luke Cage. That's all the currently ongoing stuff, right?
I think so. That sounded right.
Yeah, that's right. Because we've had some one-offs recently. There's a great one on Rocky Horror Picture Show. We've done plenty of stuff in the past, so check out our back catalog. But that's the stuff that's hot off the presses, and hopefully soon a Doctor Strange one as well, just for the one movie. Hells
yeah, looking forward to it. Okay, without further ado, because there is a lot to break down, let's go into it. We don't do this sequentially, so we're going to start off with the William, Dolores, Logan, and El Lasso plot line here, which, by the way, El Lasso translates to the noose or the loop, both of which work perfectly because Lawrence had the noose around his neck for the last 2 episodes. Yeah. And then El Lasso... the loop, very clearly refers to what the robots are all doing. All the hosts are basically on a loop. For example, we see the end of a loop and then the beginning in this episode with Lawrence dying, the man in black saying, yeah, somebody will be along to pick him up shortly. And then we see him now as El Lazo, which is the beginning of his plotline, I guess, there in Pariah.
Yeah, when I heard El Lazo... before looking it up, I just assumed it meant the throat lozenge.
That's all you ever think about because you need one so badly all the time.
Exactly, yeah. It's where my mind is most of the time. I was actually going to ask, did you take this as, and I guess since his name means the loop, that's probably what it means, but do you feel like this is actually Lawrence's normal story that he just always repeats, or do you think he's like a reinvented self like so many of the other characters due to Ford's new creation?
To me, this was just part of his normal loop. Like, this is where he would start here in this role. He would screw over the Confederados with the nitroglycerin thing, hop on the train, and eventually get caught and be hanged in the middle of nowhere.
And then, like, he just has an optional mother and daughter that don't often come into the storyline.
Yeah, I guess
not wife and daughter, not mother and daughter.
Yeah, I guess that could be part of it. Plus, the daughter, there is something about her. Like, she has some intimate knowledge, first off, of the maze. So it could be that that's like the Easter egg. Like, if you are looking for that hidden dimension to the game, you need to know how to take Lawrence out of his loop and bring him to his family. And you know what I mean?
Sure. I do feel at this point, though, because there's quite a few maze references in this episode. Like, they're increasingly happening. I feel like any robot in this Westworld, if you, like, you know, press the right button or peel off the right piece of skin, there's some kind of maze reference.
Yeah, honestly, that might be true. We haven't really seen the extent of it so far, but it's clearly there's in the beginning we wondered if it was something that is like really truly hidden, like even from the people that work there. But I think as more has gone along, it seems like more people are kind of keyed into the maze. We heard Bernard mention it, obviously Ford, Man in Black, multiple different hosts in the park.
Yeah, if the staff was, for whatever reason, like uninformed about it, it was that secret, then they're doing a terrible job surveillancing things. And we've pointed some of that out with like Maeve and her erratic behavior, but I feel like with the sheer amount of storylines they're watching and all the mentions of the maze, they would have caught it by now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what we start off with is Dolores in a massive graveyard, which is just outside of this town pariah. She's with William and Logan, and then she hears somebody say, "Find me," in her head.
Find me.
It was a man's voice.
Find me.
Yeah, that first one did not quite fit.
Okay, all right.
But it does snap her back to like the flashback of her coming out of the church that we saw in the Reverie last week.
Yes, it does. I mean, they keep Dolores, as we find out through more and more of this in this episode, is incredibly like important and almost seems like the crux of a lot of things in the past. But they continue doing kind of a cool job showing, I guess, her perspective on how it's unraveling. Like, you know, the audience, we've known the whole time there's something important. She continues to be a focal point. But I like how they're slowly revealing that she knows she's important.
And what's kind of cool about William's role in that is he sort of gives you like a neutral middle ground of somebody watching it from the outside occur. Because even in this moment right here, like he's like, I heard you talking to somebody. Are you all right? And she says it must have been the wind. So like other people are noticing it, and having William along for the ride, even though she's really along for the ride with what he's doing, it kind of gives you... I don't know, like a device that the audience can insert themselves into to witness it.
Yeah, I would agree. And Lord knows he's not interesting enough otherwise.
That is very true. Old vanilla milk over there.
Yeah, he definitely works as this neutral, like, almost consciousness piece. Like, you know, where's your conscience as a robot? And kind of a middleman liaison for the audience. But yeah, on his own, he's a super boring character.
Could you imagine playing video games? Like if you, because most people would be like a Logan playing a video game. Could you imagine if like you had one of your friends over and he was like William? He's like, wait, what are you doing? The NPCs aren't going to like that.
Yeah, if he's in like a cutscene and dialogue comes by, he's like, I don't really like that response. What can we do to change it? Like, you can. It's a scene. I'm just not convinced. I gotta feel there's a better way out of this. Let's contact the developers.
Guarantee you he stops at red lights on Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And he doesn't kill the prostitutes after paying them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah. So they end up riding into Pariah, and this is the first scene where you're like, oh shit, like I am really glad I'm watching this only with my wife, because there's like basically orgies in the street, there's people shooting corpses and
fucking in the street.
What is it?
Fucking in the street.
I'm pretty sure that's not a real song, right?
Dancing in the Street with Mick Jagger and David Bowie.
Oh yeah, I remember the alternate version.
and they did have sex at some point.
They look like they do the way they dance around in that video.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay. So, but yeah, it's basically as they're walking through, just complete pandemonium, a big celebration, just a nonstop party here in Pariah. And Logan, very interesting little conversation here.
Very, very interesting.
Logan says, hey, there's a rumor that they're hemorrhaging cash and we're kind of considering bailing them out. This place costs a fortune. It's rumored it was a partnership, but right before they open it, one of the partners offed himself.
Yes, which sent the park into a free fall. So, we've already had them make numerous mentions of the park, and just talk about some kind of investment in it, some kind of partnership, but you're not sure their role. Same with the Man in Black. But now to say that the company they're working for is considering bailing them out, now we're getting a little more perspective, because we talked early on in the show about would they ever show the outside world to kind of give you this perception of what Westworld is. But they're kind of doing that without actually taking us out of the park by saying, right before they opened, Arnold killed himself and the park went into a free fall. So you already kind of know a little bit more and more about the history of this park and where it came from and what's happening without us ever having to actually leave it.
And it's just interesting to see who else knows about this information. So at first you're wondering, excuse me, how hush-hush all this is. But it seems like we at the very least know Logan, the Man in Black, obviously now William, Ford, Bernard. I mean, it's not like it's some completely hidden secret. Like maybe the public doesn't know it, but enough people know. I don't know. I enjoy finding out who is clued into all these little secrets.
Yeah, I do as well. And then one of the things that William says is whoever designed the place must have not thought much about people, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear there's a phrase from Ford earlier in the show where he says he doesn't care much for people. He cares.
I think he says he prefers the hosts,
right?
Yeah. So, which, by the way, is kind of funny because Ford almost seems like he's condescendingly saying that exact same thing about Arnold in another episode, where he's talking about how Arnold much preferred the host to actual real people.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to get the feeling that I don't necessarily know Arnold's motives or what he was after, but long story short, I think Ford offed him because they had a difference in visions. And I often feel like maybe the things that Ford is purporting about Arnold, like these warnings and things, are really just him talking about his own personality and that he's spun the whole thing in a different light.
Maybe. I'm more of the opinion that Arnold somehow got Dolores to kill him, or he faked his death, or something along the line with that whole plot line and everything that happened at the church, which I mentioned on this episode last week. And then there was like this massively upvoted theory that was almost verbatim exactly what I had said on the podcast and posted on Reddit. Very disappointed.
So like someone else said the same thing you did, but they got better upvotes because they had a better avatar icon?
I guess so. I mean, I don't even know if there are avatar icons. I guess I should just say that. But there are 80. I probably got 80 upvotes. This person had like 800.
Gotcha. Either way, that doesn't change my thought around the way he's phrasing things about Arnold. I'm getting the impression that what he's saying about Arnold and all the like feelings he's saying and that he got too attached and this and the other maybe was really about him.
Yeah, I could see that.
And like, he's kind of covering certain aspects of his death up. But, it remains to be seen. They continue to make it interesting though without, I'm not at that point where I'm like, God damn it, can you stop talking about Arnold? Just move on. I'm still pretty intrigued with the mystery.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, the biggest mystery that we have, aside from perhaps the maze, is Arnold, and I'm sure that they're somehow connected. So, but yeah, let's keep it moving. We've got just a couple of little things here in the town. First off, we find out that Logan, the reason he was super excited about coming here is because it's the ticket to the biggest game that there is, which is War, which William seems like completely not. He seems nonplussed about it, don't you think? Yeah,
especially when like, hey, let's be on the side of the Confederates that wouldn't surrender after the Civil War.
Yeah, the Confederados, the Army of New Virginia, which they seem like a bunch of cool dudes.
They definitely do.
Okay, we get a couple of things here, like William and Dolores are walking, and she has a reverie of a bunch of dead bodies in the street outside of that old church, so we get another glimpse at that. And then she is giving more and more information about like the changing, I don't know, the changes blossoming inside of her. She says something to the effect of, you know, we could make any choice at any point that is going to like completely change your life. And then he says something about the real world, and she kind of follows up on that. And
she says, like, what do you mean about the real world?
Yeah. And she's like, and he says, aren't you not supposed to mention things like that? And she's like, why ever would that be the case?
Yeah. So he's taken aback by the fact that she would, you know, the idea is they're programmed to ignore, you know, slips that otherwise wouldn't like make logical sense with the narrative. Yet, she doesn't. So it's just in continued signs of her becoming self-aware.
And you know that he is recognizing it because he mentions it to Logan like a scene later, and Logan's like, yeah, right, sure she is.
Yeah, so he's obviously recognizing it, and he's already Mr. like boring, goody two-shoes, wants to do things the right way. Obviously, you can expect him to take that to extremes when he thinks the robots are becoming self-aware. So it only increases his stake in Dolores, which is already kind of, up until this point, has already been, you know, kind of hyperbolic.
Yeah, so there's a parade that starts coming through town, which it looked like a Halloween parade, like people with skulls like painted all over their faces. Dolores sees herself walking through the parade and ends up trying to chase after, and then has what I guess would be tantamount to a panic attack and passes out.
Yeah, I thought that was like kind of a weird scene. I don't know, just her passing out randomly, but this is the one thing I'm not quite sure with the shows. They show people passing out or doing this, that, and the other, and it's kind of a transition piece almost to them now being captured, so to speak, and being interviewed by an actual technician. Is that just, do you think it's just something they input into their mind to like make sense of why they're taking out?
Why they're taking... Because
immediately, like the next time you see her, she's being interviewed by Ford, and I feel like they keep showing different scenes where this happens. Is them just impressing upon them that they passed out, had a dream, and when they came to, they're back in their loop?
I mean, they do only bring them in when they're sleeping. I don't think them actually fainting has anything to do with it necessarily, but they bring them in when they're sleeping because they want them to always, if they forget to wipe them, they want like them to associate this as being a dream.
Sure.
Okay, so like to your point, Dolores is speaking with Ford at Mesa, which is the Delos headquarters, and you know, basically they're kind of talking about dreams a little bit. He says they're the stories we tell ourselves, and then he asks her if she's been thinking about breaking out of her loop and having a bigger role, which is interesting because it essentially hits right home at the point of, well, first off of what we're talking about, but also it just shows that he really is kind of, like he is omnipotent a little bit with everything that's happening in the park, or so the show would lead you to believe.
Yeah, so, you know, he even asked her if she remembers him the way he used to be, or if she remembers Arnold. So he goes from asking a question that immediately lets you say, like, oh, he really does understand what's going on, but even takes it to the next level. Like, he's asking straight up questions about Arnold. She says she doesn't remember either. And, you know, he mentions that Arnold's perfectly preserved under the walls of your mind.
But he wants to know, yeah, exactly.
Have you been hearing voices, right? And this is something which Ford didn't bring up, but very early on in the episodes, they bring up security cam footage with the technicians, and numerous different people, Dolores being the first, are all talking to Arnold when no one is actually there.
Well, what's really interesting here is he grabs her hand and flips it over, and like this is, I can't recall if it's after or before the hand squeezing thing, but he looks at it up close, and you know how Elsie pulls the satellite uplink out of the other one's arm, the head bashed in skull guy? The place that he checks on her hand is like right there. Plus, maybe him squeezing it is him seeing if the thing is in there. Like, I'm wondering if he is thinking that somebody is feeding stuff into her through an uplink or something like that too.
Possible. I'm not sure. When he did that, I'm trying to remember what the time frame of it was, because my mind didn't immediately draw there. I did think about the Westworld movie though, when they had the giant meaty hands. And I was just like, is he just checking to see if like she's an earlier model or something? But they continue to show that uplink throughout the episode. So
I'm gonna call back to the meaty hands in a handful of scenes. By the way, I'm sure
you know where we're going.
I'm sure you fucking do. Just a couple of quick things. She says that the last contact was 32 years ago. He says that's the day Arnold died, and she hasn't heard from him or seen anything to do with him since. And she does tell him, though, that the last thing Arnold told her was that she was going to help him destroy this place, which is pretty fucking cool to find out.
Definitely. So she was involved in some kind of like robocalypse.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Or at the very least is still at some point laying dormant just to become a major pawn in the role, or having even a larger role than being the pawn. But
or maybe part of a theme parkalypse.
Oh no. Oh no.
Whatever.
No.
Oh, you know it's good.
I'm canceling our website subscription. I'm taking down all the episodes. We're done. It's over.
It's 67 hours or something like that.
You just crashed Boob Tube Buddies.
Oh man.
But okay, so like he says, you've been content in your loop, so you wouldn't help him do that, right? That was not his accent whatsoever.
You wouldn't help him do that, right?
So anyway, she's like, are we very old friends? And he says, no, I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all. And then he kind of looked like he was crying a little bit right there.
Yeah, like a little bitch.
Okay.
Right?
But he was crying, though, for real, right?
Yeah, no, I thought he was getting a little teary-eyed. But then she says, he didn't know I fucked it up. He doesn't know. He doesn't know I didn't tell him anything. Yeah. I'm the scat man.
Oh, no. Okay, so I did find that very interesting that she had one last thing that she had to say, and I wonder if that was an inner monologue, because it'd be funny if Ford like kind of peeks his head back and is like, "Wait, what did you say?" And she's like, "Oh, nothing," and he's like, "No, I could have swear that I just heard you say that I didn't tell him anything. He doesn't know anything."
I think that'd be funny too. I think one way the show will be terrible and I'll stop watching it is if in like episode 9 it's revealed that Arnold's a ghost.
Oh no.
And he's just haunting the theme park and she's been talking to him the whole time.
Well, I mean, he could be like a poltergeist in the fiber optics, right?
Yeah, no, if they have like a technical explanation, but I'm just saying it's like it's a straight up ghost.
Yeah, but what if he's a digital ghost?
I'm okay with the digital ghost, but I'm not okay with an ectoplasmic analog ghost.
Can I put TM on poltergeist in the fiber optics?
I guess so.
I really like that. That
sounds like a sweet new tech-savvy hip-hop song.
I was
poltergeist in the fiber optics.
Oh my god. I was gonna say that Poltergeist in the Fiber Optics was gonna be the name of the podcast that replaced Boob Tube Buddies after you crashed it with that terrible pun earlier.
But then I saved it with that sweet ass rhyme.
Oh sure, yeah. Right? It was not a rhyme, by the way. Oh no, poor Mothman. He comes out of his shell, has a nice little shower and a shave, and I just shit all over his dreams. Just like he does when I do my Audible ads.
Yeah, that's true.
3.5 out of 5. Okay, so getting back to William and Dolores, she says she had troubled dreams, but I feel more myself now. And that's when the guys go and meet El Lasso, which is when you find out that he is Lawrence. And again, I think that this is him at the beginning of his loop that eventually leads to him being hanged or quote unquote rescued by the Men in Black in his most recent loop.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I posed the question earlier. I don't think there's reason to believe one way or another. I think it makes sense either way at this point because we really haven't seen much of him other than him getting hanged and other than him with his family. So, I'm just interested to see more. Yeah, it could quite easily be part of Ford's new narrative. We don't really know where everything's going with the timelines. We don't know if there's multiple timelines. I mean, at this point, we're in the dark, and anything in terms of the timeline stuff, we don't even need to get into that because it is a distinct possibility. In fact, Jonathan Nolan uses timelines quite a bit as a device to kind of misdirect the audience in a lot of his stuff, and I've seen a lot of compelling evidence that there are multiple timelines, but
it's just a circle jerk at this point because we don't know whether or not it is, and there's no use like getting sucked into that, right?
Sure. Yeah, and rest assured, if it is a different plot line, if El Lazo or Lawrence is a big enough character, we're going to see his reveries, so we'll probably see his prior plot lines anyway. But what I've been doing, and what I recommend the rest of the Boob Tube Buddies audience does, is simply write every scene on your arm so you don't forget it, and then you can make sense of it later, a la Memento.
That is not... Oh, okay. I was going to say that is not what you're doing. I see what you did there.
Yeah, Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan, you know,
yeah.
They like to play with timelines.
All right, very nice. You completed your loop. Good job.
Sweet.
Okay, so they meet El Lazo. Logan tells them they want an introduction to the Confederados, and El Lazo's not really into it at first until Logan basically threatens him by putting the gun on the table, and immediately he just gets socked right in the jaw.
Nailed in the face, which is really satisfying because no one likes Logan. Like, I don't, you know, William's lame, but Logan's not really any better.
I don't, you know what's kind of funny is that Logan, you're really not meant to like Logan, I feel like at this point. I cannot help myself but thinking, God, if I was there, I would be so much more like Logan than William. Like, William is just such a fucking bitch. Like, this is a video game. Essentially, that's what this is made out to be, is a gigantic game. And I get where Logan's coming from, but William, I guess I kind of understand why you would have empathy, but it's just like, I don't know, it's a video game. That's what they're doing. So I really, like, I actually am starting to come around to being, like, more on Logan's side of things than William's, which I know is counterintuitive.
Well, and I don't know that it's counterintuitive. I think the show actually does a really good job of trying to, I don't know, almost put you in the shoes as if you were part of the emulation. Like, you're obviously seeing this giant overarching plot that encompasses the perception of the, like, androids themselves, the look of participants and guests, you know, the perspective of people actually making it. So you're meant to look at all these perspectives. But one thing I think they do really well is make you consider what you would do. And, like, our framework is absolutely that it's a video game. Why wouldn't you be like Logan? Just try everything, no harm, no foul. But at the same time, if you also try to put yourself in the shoes of technology being this advanced and the fact that you can't differentiate between a human and android, then you might also, if you are actually in that situation, be a lot more like William. And the other thing I like too is it's pretty gratuitous, which we'll get to with sex and violence, but they don't always make it like sexy or fulfilling. The one thing I think about is every time an android's being interrogated, it's naked, but it's certainly not like sexy. It just kind of makes you consider those characters as objects again in between, like, all the drama and the fun of the plot.
It's like what the Man in Black said, where when the park first opened, that everything was a little bit more mechanical, but they opted to go for realism. And the problem there is that part of why they did it is because it's cheaper. Not only maybe is it cheaper to manufacture, but people probably are much less likely to just go through and shooting the place up if it looks like human beings that they're shooting, as opposed to like a very clear physical distinction. Well, and also in their mannerisms and everything like that. It would be way easier to shoot something that is very clearly a robot rather than something that is identical to all the senses to what a human being would be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really like that comment earlier. Like, anything we get the Man in Black and his frame of mind, especially as someone that's been doing it for 30 years and isn't quite a Logan, he's a lot more likable in my mind. That was one thing I wasn't quite sure about. I was like, well, why would it be cheaper? But it makes sense. If it's just people aren't killing indiscriminately because of the realism, then it's going to be a lot cheaper to clean up.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, we're getting really, really caught up on tangents. Let's just kind of breeze through this scene. Basically, El Lazo is telling them that there's a shipment of nitroglycerin that needs to be relieved from the Union soldiers and given to the Confederados. And so we see them actually going out to do this little heist thing, which to me, this is what I would want to do in Westworld, would be like fun little, exciting, action-packed adventures and missions like this. Maybe not specifically working for the Confederados because they seem like douchebags, but like the heist thing here seems really fun. And I love, Logan ends up taking a beating here again, too. He takes a beating 3 times in this episode. Very clearly, like, the further you get out from Stillwater, it's like Stillwater is the, like, easy mode.
Yeah, the safe place.
Yeah, and so you start to get out to places, like, either in the wilderness or in a place like Pariah, and very clearly that's, like, hard level, or, maybe even when you go to war, that's, like, hardcore mode or something.
Yeah, they definitely give you the setup. Like, you almost get the feeling that Sweetwater's, like, tutorial mode. Like, you can't actually lose everything so basic, but they want you to get the grasp of the controls. That's where the idiots, like that one guy with the eye patch. Yeah, like all the basic introductory, like, very simple quests start there. Yeah, but now you're getting to, like, expert mode where, like, one hit and you die and you're starting over in the day, which is why even someone like Logan, who obviously is a hardcore player, is just getting his ass beat, which is,
And I think that he is kind of still taking that Stillwater mentality and putting it into Pariah, because whenever you, as an actual gamer, are playing on a harder difficulty, you still don't run out Leroy fucking Jenkins style every single time like Logan does. Yeah, that's why he's always getting his ass beat. He's constantly putting himself in danger. Like, this is where you duck behind walls and start playing stealth mode and shit like that so that you can actually get through these missions.
Yeah, this is where you've, like, leveled up enough to craft, like, the best weapon in the game for certain aspects, and, like, everything's very tactical and well thought out, but he's just running and gunning still.
Yeah, in this one, he's still acting all cocky. He ends up getting disarmed, getting his ass beat. William has to step in and shoot some of the people. El Lasso's man gets killed, and Logan is getting choked, really, like, violently choked against the covered wagon, and William has to save him, but it's like, at this point, and man, Logan is, like, fucking thrilled that finally he got William to do it.
So sweet.
He's like, I knew you'd get into this.
Yeah, so he was pretty excited that William shot a few people trying to save him.
Yeah, but so they end up coming back into town, and the leader of the Confederados is thrilled. He gives, like, this big bag of gold to El Lasso, and El Lasso suggests an evening of celebration before they continue with the cause, and these 3 naked women painted head to toe in gold come strutting up.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that they were painted in gold.
Did that not seem more like some Roman world type shit rather than...
Yeah, so actually, I was thinking this whole next scene when they're in the orgy and that, like, headquarters, it's all very Roman themed. Like, I'm wondering if this is, what they're doing instead of Rome world. It's just a certain part of it that's very, like, antiquated and, boning.
Yeah, maybe. We won't know that for multiple seasons. Like, I could see them coming in with season 3 with Roman world or something like that, or maybe even, like, Roman world shut down and they only reopened up Westworld, so you see, like, the bare bones part of Roman, you know what I mean? So, like, we could come to that, but yeah, it is definitely, like, a hedonistic sort of thing. There's lots of sex, there's blowies, a bunch of neuterudies, and just
just, like, bent over spread ass women sucking off guys. Pretty graphic.
Jesus Christ, Mothman.
I'm just describing for the audience in case they...
Taxi cab confessionals over here. Can you take that down a notch? Unless they... Sense your raging boner through the microphone right now.
Just for the Williams out there watching the show that close their eyes during it, I thought I'd give them a little titillating skinulation or whatever it is.
Oh, nice. That was pretty good. That what was the Audible ad that I used where I said the skinulating titillation?
The panty ripper.
The panty ripper. Oh man, we can't use that one this episode because I got my new fancy one. Which, by the way, just a quick heads up for everybody, I got a brand new Audible ad, a musical one that's going to play here in a little bit. It's going to be sexy, but man, we got to use the panty ripper again at some point. I totally forgot about it.
I actually just used it on Divorce that posted.
Oh, you did? Okay, gotcha. I'm like 15 minutes into that episode, so I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah. So enjoy that, audience. Enjoy that.
Okay, so William makes it very clear to Logan here, like, listen, the last thing that I want to do is play the war game. And Logan is pissed. He's like, listen, like, you're not understanding this place. Like, there's no such thing as heroes and villains. It's like, it's all a circle jerk. And William has, like, the sickest, like, oh, no, he didn't come back. He's like, I think that philosophy says way more about you than it does this place, Logan. Oh no!
Oh. And then Logan, like he kind of pins Logan against the wall, and Logan basically says, "I picked you to come here because you're no like what did he say? You're no thread."
Are you making fun of my notes, you fucking asshole? It's because he says you're no threat.
Oh, okay. Now I can read it. That makes much more sense.
Fuck you. No, but do your own notes next time, you fucking ingrade.
but then he references the sister who William is married. And he says, "My sister probably picked you for the same reason." He also says, "A lifetime of working hard got you upper middle management. When you got the VP role, you came into my office and thanked me for the opportunity."
Oh, and that was the best day of your little life. And that's the point where William slams him up against the wall and then loses his nerve. And Logan's like, "That's what I thought, bitch."
Yeah. I'm surprised that William didn't just slit his throat right there.
Oh, man, that would have been so gratifying. And by gratifying, I mean... could you imagine having to watch the William plotline without a character like Logan to counterbalance it? How goddamn boring that would be.
I don't know. I mean, if he slit his throat and then actually started drinking his blood, then he might be a pretty interesting character to watch from then on.
I would love to see him go full on McPoyle, like to literally just revert to McPoyle character for the rest of the time.
His sister shows up.
Oh,
with the unibrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, but during this part where they're arguing, Dolores ends up walking off, and she walks past tons of little sexy time happening, and then she goes into a room and she sees herself dressed as a tarot card reader, and this is the part I was talking about where where she starts unraveling, literally. But she tells herself, "You must follow the maze." So now we have... well, I guess Bernard had told her about it, so we already knew that this was a thing.
Yeah, but
right?
what we didn't know is that there was a second Dolores robot that also knew about the maze.
Apparently there's multiple Dolores robots because there was the one walking in the parade. I'm sure that they're all just kind of like apparitions within her own mind, but it was still pretty interesting.
Digital ghosts, do you say?
What was the word that I already TM'd and forgot? Poltergeist and the fiber optics.
Poltergeist and the fiber optics. Blah, 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 and the blah, blah, blah.
Oh, man.
It's a good rhyme, right?
Yeah, this is the last ever episode of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast. I'm done.
Not because it's a failure, but because I obviously have a promising career.
You've outshined me. You've outgrown me.
I do also have gold chains on right now.
Oh my god. I bet you showered with them too, you fucking weirdo. So she goes running out just in time to see how Lasso's men switching out the nitroglycerin for tequila, like he is double crossing them. She goes back to warn William, who doesn't really buy it because now he's like thinking that everything that happens here is so fucking micro controlled that he's like, this is what they do. They create some stupid sense of urgency. And I have to say that would be a little off-putting as a gamer, especially because like he looks like he's like multiple sheets to the wind at this point. Yeah. So like if I was just sitting back and like finally, I'm having some drinks, I'm at this huge fucking orgy, the last thing I'd want to hear is, "Oh my god, there's a double cross going outside."
I think I would be in the same boat.
Yeah.
What would you rather be doing?
Well, don't put... Bethany's going to listen to this, so I'm not answering that question.
All right, fair enough.
The answer is very clearly getting away from all temptation as quickly as possible.
Exactly, because you're nothing like the Logan character.
Definitely not. I am definitely Milky William all day long.
Milky William? I don't know. At an orgy, that's not the right thing to say.
Oh, no. All right, podcast is back on.
All right. There we go.
At this moment outside, we see the Confederados are basically playing catch with the bottle of nitroglycerin, which is, just like really good idea. But the bottle breaks and nothing happens. So all of a sudden, the leader of the Confederados turns around to look at Logan. He realizes what's going on, and they start whipping the shit out of him and cuff him. And then William rushes out, and Logan says, "Help me," and nothing. He just leaves him there. And did you notice that Logan smiled a little bit in this part?
Yeah, he's like, "All right, I see what's up. You're becoming a man."
Into it. If anything, maybe pit them against each other a little bit. What if they're on opposite sides of the war? That would be cool, right?
That would actually be pretty sweet. They both move out the ranks and they kind of control each side of the army.
Yeah,
and it becomes an RTS.
But that'd be pretty cool. I do say I would agree with William though that like that would be the last thing that I think I'd personally want to do, would be the war plotline. I'd have to have come to the park a bunch of times before I'd be interested in doing that.
Absolutely. I'd have to do at least a few heists, a few bar brawls, a few orgies before I even considered it.
Oh my God, a few orgies, you fucking pervert. All right, you're just being real. I get it.
Yeah, that's true.
So they run. Well, actually, no, before they catch the train, William gets pinned down too, gets a little punch to the jaw, and then Dolores just goes full on black hat for a quick second and just fucking murders like 5 or 6 of the Confederados.
Yeah, it's just like 5 shots, 5 deaths. She's a badass. She obviously has an untapped potential and a lot more aptitude for the gun that she found in the dirt like 3 episodes past.
Absolutely. So then they go and they run and like they hear, ooh, ooh. Was that a good train? It felt like it was really bad. I felt like that needed to be much higher pitch. Okay, that was better. Okay. So they run, they catch it, they get inside, they have a quick standoff with Lasso until Dolores pulls out the trump card and points her gun directly at the nitroglycerin stores. And everybody's like, oh, okay, let's pull back off of this.
Simmer down now.
And this is where he tells him, you can call me Lawrence. And Dolores looks down at the coffins that are in the train, and what is carved into them?
Goddamn maze. It's everywhere.
Fucking maze.
It's everywhere.
It's pervasive.
It is pervasive. I don't know about you, but I think this might be time for a kick-ass Audible ad.
Oh yeah, and how many stars out of 5 did you give it?
3.5, everybody.
Fuck you, roll that tape, bitch. Let's everybody listen to this fucking masterpiece that I'm sure Mathis is going to put on way too soft so none of you can hear it. And then email us or write in and let us know how fucking awesome it is, because I spent a full hour putting together this 1-minute ad just to have him shit down my goddamn throat. So listen to it and tell us what you think.
I swear it's just going to be cricket sounds.
www.audibletrial.com/Boob Tube Buddies.
Get it, got it good.
Hello, RoboFox Man here to tell you about Audible.com. I accessed Audible's internal servers to teach myself about your species. I learned to laugh. I learned to love. And now I'm going to exterminate you all. You too can access this great wealth of information for free. By doing so, you also support the hilarious podcast, Boob Tube Buddies. That human Oxman is especially funny. Ha.
Ha.
Go to www.audibletrial.com/BoobTubeBuddies to get your free month trial. The best way to predict the future is to invent it.
Little buddies.
Welcome back, everybody.
Your voice cracked on 1.
To say
3, 2, 1.
Oh man, know what we're laughing at? Not your ad.
Oh, fuck you. Or right. Is that a nice thing because my ad was so awesome? Yeah. I learned to laugh. I learned to love. And now I'm going to exterminate you all.
It was pretty funny.
It's really good. I'm impressed with myself. But more importantly, please seriously write in, because you don't understand the ego beating that I take every single day as part of this podcast. So if anybody like that podcast at all, please, boobtubebuddies@gmail.com, Twitter, Facebook, any of that stuff. Please just, honestly, just like a thumbs up emoji would feel really good right now.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's hop into the Elsie and livestock guys, which, by the way, I in the note wrote Asian livestock guy every time.
Which was abbreviated to Asian livestock.
Yes. So we are just going to call him Felix because that is his actual name.
Yes. Felix is the Asian guy, not the white trash guy.
Yes, exactly. So we have the two of them fixing up Maeve on the table, and Felix is really jumpy around her because of what happened last time, and his little dingleberry partner is just basically mocking him. He even makes the arm move to make him jump at one point. Yeah,
he's just giving him a hard time, and continues to just, say, like, get over it, essentially. And then one of them goes to grab lunch, but the... Felix is his name, right? Okay, yes. So Felix goes in the cabinet and pulls out a dead bird, and then he starts, he pulls out like a flat, almost holographic keyboard, and you can tell he's starting to essentially program it, but he can't.
It's really glitchy.
Operate it worth shit, which I'm just gonna go ahead and bring up the racism in this episode. All right.
Oh no.
I wouldn't have brought.
Isn't it reverse? Aren't they breaking stereotypes by showing it an Asian person who's bad at IT stuff?
All right, that's fairly racist. So what I was gonna say is that we get to a point later, like very close here, where there's a comment on a robot that's black that has just a giant flaccid wiener.
What?
So,
No, don't skip ahead. I wanted to cover that scene at least 10 minutes.
I'm trying to cut down on this. We're already going late with time, but it's a stereotype.
Are you kidding me? Are we seriously
one.
not going to talk about that? That's it? That's the only comment for that enormous wiener, which, by the way,
you're so into it.
I was sitting there watching the episode with Bethany, which any of you that are listening to American Horror Story or Divorce have heard Bethany, and I just couldn't even help myself. I just, like, involuntarily just said, like, oh my God, that is a huge wiener. Like, it was so big. And on my 65-inch TV, I swear to God, that wiener was 40 inches long, if it was an inch. Like, it was so big, and I feel so emasculated. Like, I haven't even wanted to look at mine in days now.
Yeah, so my response when it came up, obviously...
It turned me into a never nude.
For me, I was obviously just, keeping up my machismo and my... like my manlyhood, so I just went,
wait, like my
manlyhood. And I went, And that was it. I thought I played it off pretty well. Julia definitely was not concerned and didn't judge me. But that's a stereotype. And although you might say it's a positive one, it's still racist. And then I was thinking about this scene before, and really what they're saying is that Felix, the Asian dude, can't drive a bird.
Oh no, that's pretty funny,
right?
What if
pretty
Felix
senseless writing?
What if Felix was naked in one of the scenes and had like a really big bush and a tiny penis? Then they'd really be stereotyping.
I imagine it'll happen in a week.
Oh no,
and the show's really just playing it pretty loose with the stereotypes.
Yeah, we feel very uncomfortable with it, so we just wanted to put that out there so everybody knows how PC we are, bro.
Absolutely. At some point, though, they kind of make up for the first stereotype because, the douchey white trash guy gives Felix a hard time saying he's like misappropriating corporate property and that he could get in trouble for that. Ultimately, you're a butcher. That's all you ever be. So keep your shit together and just do your job.
Yeah, I thought that was a little heavy-handed, just how bullyish and douchey he's being, especially the line like and that's all you'll ever be.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously just a giant dick. He's basically like those bullies from Stranger Things that grew up.
Yeah, that is exactly right.
That like very stereotypical bully person. But eventually Felix does get it to fly pretty well, although I don't know what the repercussions are going to be.
Well, I mean, we can definitely tell you what the repercussions are going to be. He flies it around the room. It ends up landing on Maeve. And she is like, hello, Felix. I think it's time you and I had a chat. Oh, shit.
Are you there?
Yeah, okay. I finished my thought. I said that the bird ends up flying around. It lands on Maeve's finger, and then she says, hello, Felix. We need to have a chat. And then I said, oh, shit. And then that's where you're now going to come in. And it was about 48 minutes and 45 seconds for me.
Okay, putting in 48 minutes.
So you know where we're at?
Yes.
Okay, so when you count it off, come back and respond to my going, oh, shit.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that was a little crazy. I mean, Maeve obviously continues to be a pivotal point in the show, but they haven't given her very much. Whereas like Dolores,
I thought she was going to jump out at him at first because like the way that he's swirling around the room looking, like it was very clear something was going to happen. I was glad when it just landed on her and she was sitting still.
Yeah, they just left it at that. So we'll see. I imagine she'll figure in a little more prominently in the future. Because she continues to be self-aware, just like Dolores is.
Oh, I'm sure she wants some alterations, like or improvements, upgrades. You know,
because Dolores isn't becoming self-aware in these environments. She's not having it happen during her dreams.
Only in the sense that Bernard is coaching her through some of the stuff a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not like she also seems at the whole time like under his influence, whereas this is just like Maeve doing her own thing.
For sure. And I don't think that they would have shown him learning to program this bird if it wasn't for the fact that like that's a little bit of foreshadowing that he is now going to kind of mess with her programming a little bit. And we know that he's an amateur, so it might not all go like according to plan. You know what I mean? Like it might, she might turn into like Dr. Frankenstein's creation.
Yeah, she might be Bride of Frankenstein, but I mean, it remains to be seen. She obviously is going to play in here somehow, and if that's the foreshadowing, that'll be interesting to see how he codes her and maybe uses her to his will. The other thing we see is that as some of this stuff is going on before Maeve getting up, you have Elsie kind of in the same area going through these kind of working cubicles, and going past is the dude that smashes.
Real quick, while we're talking about Elsie, can we just go back to that flaccid wiener? God, what a grand sight.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
But no, seriously, that because last episode we talked about like how HBO must employ like a sommelier, but for flaccid wieners instead. Like, I swear to God, like that person probably like
38 years.
Yeah, this person was probably like, in all of my professional career, I've never seen such a grand penis.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure. At some point, though, you think, is it really the right place to jump the shark with flaccid penises 5 episodes in?
Oh, yeah, I feel like it's all downhill on flaccid wieners at this point.
Yeah, seriously. They're going to have to start CGIing them to make them bigger.
Okay, but we can come back and talk about this gigantic wiener in a few scenes if you want to. But right now, Mathis, like, seriously, let's focus. She comes down and she...
Speaking of head, she sees that one dude from last episode that smashed his head in going by with his head severed on a stretcher.
Speaking of head.
It's a good segue.
It was okay.
Anyway, I was just trying to get you to shut up about the goddamn wiener. Anyway, she follows this body, and she goes to this other technician who obviously is in charge of like just incinerating it, decommissioning it. And he
seems to have all his stuff together. Like his personal life is definitely in order, right?
Yeah, he seems on the up and up. He seems confident. He seems skilled. When Elsie pushes a little bit, he just says, fuck off. I got a job to do. I got protocols to follow. To which point she's like, well, I happen to have on my personal device an image of you, actually a video of you banging a robot when you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and it's not like a live robot or anything like that. Like it's either decommissioned or one that he's working on or something. So he's basically, she calls him like a necro nerd or a necro geek or something along those lines, making fun of him for essentially like having sex with a dead body.
Do you think it's more morally apprehensible or less to do one with like a robot that's not active?
That is a good point. I would say it's actually probably more morally, you would probably have a little bit of high ground doing it, I would say, in his case, right? Because then it's just more like an actual sex doll, like one that they have even in modern times. Like the one that you had set up in the chair next to you when we did our Luke Cage marathon.
Yeah, but I also feel like, isn't that just like a stone's throw away from, like a rape drug?
I mean, isn't everything a stone's throw away from a rape drug in Westworld?
A good call. Good call.
I do see what you're saying, though, and that is an interesting point, and I don't think we need to really go further into it.
By the way, one thing I do want to go a little further into, have you checked out what our top search result for our website is? Or is it still Westworld Boobs?
It was Luke Cage boobs. No. Westworld boobs. Westworld boob, actually, not even boobs. Westworld boob was the #1 search result that took people to our website for the first 2 weeks. At some point, Luke Cage boob had pushed into #2. So for a little while, the main people coming to our website were people disappointed that they weren't finding soft porn.
Do you feel like we should tag this episode with, Black Dingus or something? Maybe we'll get Westworld Dingus.
I'm sure dingus is probably the least commonly used phallic term out there.
What if they just watched Hateful Eight?
You are so bad at hashtagging dingus. That should really make us go viral.
You know it.
What is with you in talking about this wiener, by the way? Like, I want to talk about serious stuff, and you've like got big black penis all over your face. I mean, all over your mind.
I don't know about you, but I'm about ready to move on to the next scene. But there's one thing that happens.
The satellite uplink, yes, which we kind of mentioned earlier. She ends up pulling it out, and then she takes it to Bernard, and finally he looks like maybe he's a little interested in something she's bringing. She says, this is something that someone is using to smuggle data out of the park, which I think
he says, oh no, she says that? I thought he says it.
No, I think she says that, and then he says, oh my God.
I think she says, hey bro, check up the satellite uplink. What could people be doing with it? And he goes, my God, they've been using this to smuggle data out of the park.
Do you think it's corporate espionage? Or do you think it's something to do with Arnold?
I think it's the Russians.
The Russians. Oh my God.
They're fucking with our election in 2016, and then they're soon going to be fucking with our Westworld in what year is it? 2024?
I'm pretty sure that that's more than 8 years in the future.
I think it's 2024.
All right, I'm going to go with it's at least 100 years in the future, if not more.
I think it's 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Oh, God, here he goes again. Wind him up and watch him go. Okay, can we please move on to the Man in Black, Teddy, and Lawrence thing?
All right, let's do it.
If I swear to God, I will cut this recording off if you mention one more thing about that goddamn penis, dude.
I literally can't say anything else other than that.
Mothman.
Okay, all right.
I go over to your house. You have like a picture of it, like blown up and put above your, like on the ceiling above your bed. Okay. Anyway, so Lawrence is walking with the Man in Black and Teddy, who, by the way, is looking worse for the wear. So basically, they end up stopping, and Lawrence and Man in Black have a little bit of a back and forth here. And you know who they end up seeing? The same kid that we saw walking with Ford out on the prairie.
Yes, which Man in Black asked him to fetch some water. I wasn't really sure what was going on this next thing. Like, Lawrence seemed confused.
Well, yeah, Lawrence is definitely confused because Lawrence is like, wait, why do we need water? I just filled up the other thing earlier. And because that's like a bigger container. And so why would we need to fill up this tiny little water flask then? Well, it's because the Man in Black then dumps it out, sets it on the ground. He ends up basically saying, you know, adios to old El Lazo here.
That's what I was missing, was that he dumped the other container.
Yes. So then he slits his throat, and basically he performs like a blood transfusion.
Yeah, he drains Lazo like a pig, and just blood goes into that little leather pouch. And then you don't really, like, I don't know how he would pull getting that blood into Teddy with any kind of, like, I don't know.
I have no idea either, but actually I can actually kind of talk to that point, but I kind of want your feedback on this. So tying a couple of little threads together, we know that he is mega wealthy, which means he's probably some sort of entrepreneur of some type. We know that something that he did with his foundation or something like that saved that one other guest's sister's life. Mm-hmm. And he also, when he was trying to keep that one dude alive, he said he knew exactly how much blood it took to leave in him to keep him alive. So I feel like he's got some sort of medical background or know-how or something like that. So
do you feel like he sold like the #1 best-selling world-class pocket called the Blood Sack, and it was just like a leather bag of blood?
I mean, that might be a little on the nose for what's happening here, but I mean, it could have something to do with, I think that it has something to do with health stuff, which makes it at the very least a little bit more palatable that he's able to perform a MacGyver blood transfusion in the middle of the prairie.
Yeah, I definitely buy that.
Are you being sarcastic?
I am. I don't think I ever buy them. I mean, they didn't show enough for me to ever buy it. Like, you're basically led to believe that maybe Teddy just drank the blood and it somehow got where it needed to go.
I mean, to be fair, we don't really know what the internal organs look like on these things. Have we ever seen one like where its guts come pouring out or anything like that? So it might be fine to be fine to just pour the blood into their mouth because it might not be traveling through arteries.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 30 years in the park, he's realized what their internal biology is like, and he's using that to his advantage.
Yeah. Okay. So so we get the Man in Black now walking with Teddy, who looks a little bit better with, as the Man in Black phrases it, a few gallons of Lawrence swirling around in him.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty funny line. Yeah, and he also tells Teddy that Wyatt has Dolores because he knows that's the magic word. So is he kind of just saying that he knows Dolores is the magic word to get Teddy to do what he wants?
It's basically putting the rabbit out in front of him, giving him something to chase.
Yeah, or the carrot in front of the rabbit.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, carrot was better. I should have used carrot, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Fuck you. Okay, so this is the part where Man in Black sort of has the, I don't know, like what's the word that you would use? Like kind of pining for the old days when he's saying, man, you were so beautiful when this place started. Like I busted one of you up one time and you exploded into 1,000 pieces, but now you're flesh and bone, just like us. They thought it would improve the park experience. Your humanity is cost effective, as is your suffering. And I thought that was a cool line. Like that really stood out to me.
It was, yeah. And we talked about what the implications of that are earlier. One thing that immediately came to mind to me is I almost pictured when the park first opened and he first was a participant. I just pictured the visuals from the Westworld movie in the 70s. Like that's kind of the level that things were at.
Yeah.
And then now it's just like super, super lifelike. It was a lot more fun per se for him back then. But as we discussed earlier, I mean, it does sound like there could be some cost benefits to them being more realistic, as well as a much broader clientele for those that aren't just seeking to come here and like make bloodshed, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, in terms of the people that are here in pursuit of their sexual fantasies, you would prefer to have it be as lifelike as possible.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
All right, let's get into the last scene. Did you recognize the piano playing on the saloon song?
I didn't.
Okay, have you ever heard of the band 9 Inch Nails?
I have.
The song's called Something I Can Never Have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
do you know what album it's from?
No, I read this online, by the way. So I've listened to I probably know like 7 9 Inch Nails songs I probably listened to thoroughly, and this is not one of them.
I definitely say for anyone listening that hasn't seen it, because I do like myself some 9 Inch Nails, but there is a song called, I think This Is Not a 9 Inch Nails song, and some guy, and I'm trying to confirm it. Oh,
I hear you over there typing away like a maniac.
It's called This Is a Trent Reznor Song. Everyone look it up. It's like a 3-minute song that the dude that like is kind of spoofing Trent Reznor's formula sounds just like him. And it like, if it weren't for the lyrics being sarcastic, I probably would not be able to point out that it wasn't a 9 Inch Nails song.
That's funny. Okay,
Very
all right,
funny.
I'll check that out. You're a good guy. So the Man in Black and Teddy walk in and sit down at the table, and who comes up and serves them their whiskey?
Ford.
Now.
Built Ford tough.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. Do. Right? I just thought he deserved like that was the New Age Outlaws, I think is their name. The Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn.
Maybe? I don't know. I immediately recognized it, but I couldn't put a finger on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D Generation X proudly brings to you.
D Generation X, definitely. Okay, it was definitely D Generation X.
Yeah, they were in D Generation X. They were the tag team champions of the world.
And now where's that got him? China's dead.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Unnecessarily morbid.
Fucked up world.
Jesus, you're Black Hat in real life, you piece of shit. So Man in Black looks to Teddy and he's like, oh, isn't this a rare honor? Teddy, you know who this is? Everything good or rotten that's ever happened in your life, this is the man you have to thank.
Yeah, so they have a nice little back and forth in which Man in Black kind of has what I think really does a good job of summing it up and giving kind of the motivations. Like he said, I've always found this place was missing a true villain, hence my humble contribution.
I love that. And he's like, so this Wyatt is new. Is it just another stooge for the guest to come in?
Yeah, is it finally a worthy adversary, right?
Yeah, someone to stop me from finding the center of the maze.
That makes this a 4-maze episode.
Yeah, a lot of talk about the maze in this episode. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. But so the Man in Black tells Teddy, like, people out in the world, they've gotten really soft. Every one of their needs are catered to. Well, the only thing that they're missing is purpose. And that's what they come here seeking. And very clearly, that's why he's here. And so he's like, but other people, they come to get that sweetly affirmative bullshit. I think there's a deeper meaning behind it.
Yeah, he says that people come here to give them, their lives meaning, to give their lives purpose. He obviously doesn't agree with that. But Ford says, like, if you want to learn the moral of the story,
just ask.
Yeah, just ask. Whereas Man in Black says, like, I think I need a shovel because that man died 30 years ago.
Oh, snap.
Oh, fuck. Another Arnold reference.
And a great bit of backdrop information here because he says, almost took this place down with it if it wasn't for me, which I think is awesome. So now we know that he's probably, with his fucking mega billions or trillions, maybe in future money of dollars that he has, he somehow bailed this place out. So he obviously... if he's not the board member, that would be very surprising at this point, now knowing that his finances are actually tied into this place.
Or if, he was an active player and somehow foiled Arnold's, full-scale plan with Dolores and actually destroying the place.
Wait, say that again?
What if he was just a participant and, foiled Arnold's plans and didn't destroy the entire park, but just the small place that's now buried under the sand where the church was, where we've seen all the destruction? Maybe he was able to stop Arnold and isolate it to that one part of the park.
That's interesting. I guess that could be possible. I mean, the term bailed out definitely would insinuate, but it could also be used as a term of misdirection. Okay.
It also might be both. I mean, I've gotten the implication from early on that he was an investor or someone with money tied to it, but since he's been here for 30 years, I feel like he's been a player the whole time. So I don't know, maybe that raised his personal stakes in it. Who knows? I
love the scene where he's like, I wonder what would happen if I open you up, and he pulls the knife out, and immediately Teddy reaches over, violently pulls it and slams it down into the table. And it's very clear that Ford has controlled him to do that non-verbally. I love the non-verbal cues that he uses to control them. And the Man in Black's like, I see you still got your puppets working for you, or something to that effect. That was a really cool shot.
Yeah, where you now continue to, it continues to reinforce just that Ford is a god in this area.
Ford also says something in this part about, your sense of urgency betrays your character or something like that. And a lot to me has started to kind of make me feel like the Man in Black is short on time. I don't know if it's just because he's old, or I'm thinking more probably he has some sort of terminal illness or something like that. Something to the effect of he knows that he's not long for this world, and he needs, if he's going to accomplish this goal of finding the maze and getting to the center of it, that time is of the essence.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think too much about that, but that makes sense.
Okay, so at this point, basically Ford excuses himself, and Teddy, who's been sitting there basically just a stone's throw from death, Ford puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Mr. Flood, we may look back and smile at perils past." And he immediately straightens up like he refilled the HP meter. And then the piano starts playing at a frenetic pace, as Ford walks out, which I thought, again, was cool because he had mentioned something about, your sense of urgency kind of betrays your character. And now we have the the piano's playing super fast.
Yeah. We continue to see his cool little powers. It'll be interesting to see how things actually come to a head with him. As people maybe start to gain ground on him. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see how you beat someone like that, but I'm sure
right now he just seems too plugged in. Everybody that has any sort of hidden stuff, he seems to know. He knows about Teresa meeting with the board before she even can bring it to him. He knows about Bernard and her. He knows about Dolores questioning her existence and coming out of her loop. He knows about the Man in Black. He knows about the maze. There is very little that is getting past him at this point.
I think the only thing he doesn't know about is your fascination for that big black cock.
He's probably the only person in the world that doesn't at this
point. That's true. That was a long one, but a lot of shit happened.
Yeah, it was. And to be fair, our episodes normally run about an hour. We're going to be about 10 minutes past that. But just real quick, what did you think overall?
I liked it. I continue to like the show. I liked it a lot. There wasn't in particular, other than the Elsie stuff, that was probably the only things that kind of, for the most part, bored me.
Oh, wow. That is the biggest overcompensation for your excitement over the big dong that I've ever heard in my life. The dude fucking lays dong, and that is all you can say afterwards is like to talk about misdirection. Fucking Mr. Jonathan Nolan over here, ladies and gentlemen.
You know it. Play with that fucking timeline. Anyway, overall, like, I've enjoyed every episode, and this was, didn't stand out to me other than, like, kind of big plot reveals. I think this had maybe the most significant information in it in one episode.
That's why I loved the episode.
But action-wise, like, other episodes have stood out more. But it was a perfectly fine episode.
Yeah, to me, I thought that it was one of I don't want to say the best, because right now I'm still just hanging on to that first episode of like our first glimpse into it. But I really love this episode. It's probably my second favorite, just because we get so much of like the peek behind the curtain. So as far as information goes. So, anything else before we kind of do a quick little note keeping and wrap this bitch up?
I don't think so.
Okay. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Write in and let us know about that amazing Audible ad or about any of your tinfoil hat theories. Again, that's boobtubebuddies@gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram. Just look up Boob Tube Buddies. And that's about it. Leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps out. And tell your little buddies about the show. So Mothman, put a bow on this bitch.
We'll see you next time, little buddies.